Hey, what's up YouTube? Let's just jump right on into the content of this video because, to be honest, I lost my intro clip. So we're going to watch me go ahead and try and change the oil on this R200, which is by far the easiest thing we're going to be doing when we're converting this welded R200 diff to a limited slip. Somehow I managed to totally fail at this part. Can anyone already see how this is going to go wrong? In my head, I thought I was a genius to drain right into the oil bucket and it'd be no problem. But now we're just going to try and put the plug back in, and yeah, it's leaking all over my toolbox and everywhere else. It's on my fingers, on my impact. So yeah, throughout this video, when I'm trying to show you things and how to measure and install this LSD, I just want you to remember who you're taking advice from. I basically don't know what I'm doing. So we've got the diff cover off now, and I'm just going to break loose the 4 bolts holding the end caps on, and then that's going to allow us to take those caps off. And you want to make sure you write down which side they came off of, because you're going to want to put it back on the same side. Even though we're getting new bearings, you want to put them back on the same side. And then that's going to allow us to pull the diff out of the casing. And it was kind of a bear to get it out. I had to tap it a couple times with a slide hammer. But as you can see now, I was able to just kind of plop it out by hand after I kind of jarred it loose. Alright, one of the first things we need to do to get this new LSD prepped is to take the ring gear, which I've already taken off. It's just, what, 10 bolts off the old differential. So it's up on there like that. The bolts come through, you just drop it down, and now we just need to install this ring gear onto the new LSD. In order to do that though, what you need to buy is these bushings, because you're going from an M12 bolt hole on the new OBX LSD to what was an M10 bolt hole. And you can see the bolt holes are much smaller. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. So see that movement? You do not want that, because no matter how tight you tighten these bolts, if you leave that gap, these things are going to be walking around you know, over time, or if you do hard pulls, they're gonna rotate, and you do not want that. So you gotta put these spacers or bushings in there. I'll post up the part number in order to get this done. So got 10 of them, and they just drop in, and then you can put these in there, and it essentially eliminates the movement. So each slot will have one. So I'm going to go ahead and get this ring gear on. We're going to put some Loctite on these and torque them down to the right torque specs. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and push on these new bearings. There's the part number. Just bought 2 of them because just easier to buy new ones and push these on than to pull the old ones off. So made sure I got it oriented the right way. I've oiled it up a little bit, and now I'm just going to hammer it on. Just making sure that it's center before I kind of start wailing on it. I'm just going to use this wood block to get it most of the way. I think it goes a little bit past, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, and that is flush. Okay, and that was pretty easy. Just took, just a couple hits to get it that extra couple millimeters. And you could definitely tell the tone once it did bottom out. So I don't know if that's necessary. I've heard some people say, you can mess with this to adjust your shims. Like if you don't push it all the way on, you have less shims, etc. I just wanted to push it all the way on because then if it's in the car and for whatever reason enough pressure was to push it the rest of the way, then my shims aren't accurate anymore because there's more room to be moving around. So I'm going to go ahead and push the other one on. Okay, so we got the bearings pressed on the LSD here. So now we're really ready to go ahead and get it installed into the diff housing. So I'm going to go over some of the things you need in order to get this job done. As you can see here, we've got a shim kit. I got a shim kit from a Nissan Datsun guy in one of the Facebook pages. So I can put down in the description, his name if you want to get in contact with him for the shim kit. So it comes with a bunch of different shims. I've measured them with a caliper gauge and wrote down all of the thicknesses. Another thing, you'll need a dial indicator to do some of the measurements we got to take. Definitely need a set of calipers, and then this thing here to measure inch pounds so that we can measure preload. Just get it in there to where it's pretty tight, or maybe a couple taps with a rubber mallet is going to get it in there. You don't want to be beating it, make it really hard, really tight, way too tight. That's not good, and you don't want it to be too loose because then it can move around. So really, this shimming part, this first set part, is just making sure that it fits in there snug. Next thing is you want to measure the backlash, and I will show you measuring backlash once I get it all put back together. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the LSD in there, put my shims in there, get the caps tightened, and then we'll measure backlash, and hopefully it is on par. Okay, diff is installed. I even had to take it out a couple more times and redo my shims to get a better clearance and better tolerances. So we've got the dial indicator up to measure the backlash, and so this would be what's called the backlash, this free play that you get between the ring gear and the pinion gear back there. So you can hear that movement. And the reason they do that is because when this stuff's moving, it's going to heat up, expand, and that tolerance is going to shrink. So you don't want it too tight because then you're going to cause problems. So this is the tolerance that we need, 0051 to 0071. And that's what we have right here. I think we're at 006. So I've got it on the 30, and we should see it just go past the halfway mark and touch the 6. So I could zero it out. So basically spin the dial all the way to where it's on 0. Might help you, think about this a bit better. So we're going from 0 to basically 5, a little bit behind 0 to a little bit past 5. So that's about 6. So, with that measurement, we're basically right in the middle. And what you want to do is you want to spin the gear and take measurements in quite a few places so that you're getting an average, because not everything is perfect. The ring gear is going to have some run out where it's not perfectly circle or not perfectly mounted to the diff. So you want to get a bunch of measurements and make sure that your lowest is within tolerance and maybe your highest is within tolerance, and just be reasonable. Make sure that everything is looking good. So now that this tolerance is good, finally, this took a long time to get that. But overall it's pretty easy. I guess I should touch on how you get this if it's not within tolerance. So if your backlash isn't within tolerance, let's say that you have a backlash that's way too big, say you're jumping from 0 to 20, that's too much movement, you would need to shim this to tighten the gap. So you would need to move shims from the right over to the left. You never want to change that total shimmage count. You'd write that down somewhere so you don't mess with your preload. So you would just take shims from your right, add them to your left, and that's going to move the gear closer. So you're going to close down that gap tolerance, and that's going to get you tighter. Now let's say you made it too tight, or it's too tight off the get-go. So you're only going from 0 to 200 thousandths or whatever the number is. Then you need to scoot it to the left. So you need to take shims from the left side and put them over on the right side. And that's the reason you need all of these different shim sizes. Okay, got the diff flipped around. I'm going to show you the pinion bearing preload, and this is going to be kind of tough to show you because just the way it's measured. But basically, you've got this 1/4 inch thing. It's adapted all the way from a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch to fit this 27 bolt on the end of here. And even in the diagram, they show a picture that looks very similar to this, like in the 280Z manual. But you use this, you stick it on, and you just start rotating it, and you look to see where that dial is on how much resistance you're getting. So my dial is a bit under 10 for the most part, and we'll just keep spinning it around to right around 10, a bit under 10. And that would be, from what I understand, how you measure that. Now, I didn't change any of this pinion stuff. I didn't pull this flange out or change the bearings, so that really shouldn't have changed much. The only thing I changed would be adding the LSD. And the number we want, from what I could understand from the manual, is 8.7 to 11.3. So we're in that, which is good. And I just say from what I could understand from the specs, because I'm reading it and just trying to do the best I can, and that's what I think it means. So definitely not an expert at this, but maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I found. So it's within spec there. So we're actually good on the diff install. So this is all put together, and I'm going to show you a couple other things. So I'll be brief with this, but I wanted to point out one thing that I just don't like about the diff. Maybe I shouldn't even be concerned. Maybe I should be more concerned. I don't know. But basically, these are the original stub axles. So if you slide this in there, there is quite a bit of play in those splines. Because if I go to the OEM one, there is a bit of play. You can hear the play, but I just don't feel like it's nearly as much as the OBX diff. But you know, I'm just gonna have to remember and keep an eye on it. Hopefully it doesn't cause problems or too many problems. You know, the only way I'm gonna find out is if I run it. You know, there's been a lot of people who've upgraded to this, and I haven't really seen anything about spline failure such as that. So, you know, we're going to try it. Again, have to remember this is a sub $500 LSD, so I get what I pay for. I understand that. I have other priorities. I don't feel like spending $2,000 to put in this diff to upgrade to a super expensive LSD. So my priority is not throwing a bunch of money in this diff. I've got other things I like to do, house stuff, garage stuff. There's a lot of other things I want to do on this car. Putting $2,000 of my money, hard-earned money, inside this diff is not what I want to do. So I'm going the cheap route, and from what I've seen online, a lot of people enjoy it. Other thing I've also seen is a lot of people do upgrades on this LSD, where washers and they flip the splines. I didn't do that. I reached out to the company who sold the diff, take it for what it's worth. They told me a lot of those rumors about washers failure and things are just rumors created by competition. I'm not saying they're right or wrong or they're lying to me. I'm just saying what they told me. And a lot of those comments from those forums are from over 10 years ago. So I would hope that maybe things are built a bit stronger nowadays, because this is 2020, 2021 actually. So I didn't do any of that, and we're gonna, you know, this could be a trial run, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. So essentially I bought it from eBay, sub $500, did not open it up, do any upgrades, and bought a shim kit, installed it. We're gonna throw it in the car and see how it works. So I'll let you guys know. I did upgrade to the Z31 axles, so we're gonna get all this installed. What I'm waiting for though is the oil seals from Rock Auto. All right, now the last thing we're gonna do before we wrap this up is check the tooth engagement. So I picked up some gear marking compound on Amazon for a couple bucks, only place I could find it. Painted it on a couple teeth, and now we're going to go ahead and rotate the diff quite a few times both ways, and then review the engagement on the teeth to make sure nothing's funky. All right, so you paint the compound on, you spin the gear quite a few times. I put some resistance on it so that you know, it had some resistance, and might wipe off the grease a bit more like it would in normal operation. And you can see where it's contacting there, and it's not perfect, but you know, you can see primarily the drive is in the center and across the whole tooth. And that's what we want. I was just doing this to make sure that it's not way off to one side or there's barely any engagement, but I can tell where there's a line in my grease there that there's quite a bit of engagement, and it's primarily happening towards the center. So that's okay. Time to put the diff cover on. Actually, you know, I'm still waiting on the seals, so I'll get those in. Okay, I did end up getting the side seals here and got those pushed in. So everything is ready to go back into the car. I got this new mount. I can post a link in the description for this new mount. Get rid of that old strap deal. And then there's a urethane bushing under there. So it's ready to go in. There is one thing I need to do first though. So these caps hit on the end of the spindle, I guess you could call it, like the wheel bearing thing. So you got to shave down. Let's get under the car and take a look. So this is what I'm talking about right here. The end of this, it sticks out past just a little bit, and it sticks out just enough to where it's hitting on the cap for that axle. So I need to shave it down maybe an eighth or less, probably less, but just got to shave that down a little bit on both sides, and then we'll be able to go ahead and get it installed into the car and see how that goes. All right, just got it all installed, so we'll take a peek under there and look, see how it went. Here's from the side. But, you know, not too much different. I mean, you can see the axles are in there. It's the same diff, so not much of that has changed. I guess the diff mount is something kind of unique. So I ended up using the pointy version because the other version was not lining up right with the diff, so had to change that up. So might see if I can send that back because it just did not work. So that's the diff mount. Basically that rubber bushing keeps the diff from lifting up. It's a nice, pretty solid bushing rather than the rubber straps. But there's the diff and the axles. I've already filled the diff up with fluid, and I've ran the car and, like, you know, went through the gears, had the wheels spinning, got the diff fluid moving around just to make sure everything was kosher and I don't have any leaks. So we're good to go ahead and drop the car and take it on a test drive. Okay, just got back from taking it for a drive and everything went great. Nothing crazy happened. It was just a nice normal drive through the back roads. Went into some parking lots, did some tight turns right and left, and nothing binded up, nothing was popping or banging, and everything went smoothly. I did some hard pulls in second and third. Car pulled straight. I didn't feel any vibrations. It just went overall really great. I'm very relieved. This was a lot of intense work. Never put a rear end in before, a lot of measurements, a lot of first time calculations, and it went well. So this car is ready to go on to its next step, which is I think start prepping it for paint, but that's not what I'm going to talk about in this video. Everything's going well. I don't see any leaks, so I'm just going to, you know, continue to monitor, continue to drive it a little bit here and there. Don't want to drive it too much. I don't have the windshield and the back glass because I am getting ready to paint it. So, you know, we'll test it as much as we can. But just this first test drive, everything went very well. So I'll have to keep you guys updated with how it goes. But right now, everything is going smoothly. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps, and see you in the next one.